and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, on what is a double upload day. Plenty happening right now at Barça, and honestly, I'd like to double upload more often on the channel, but I'm always a bit concerned that maybe if I overload the videos, you'll forget to watch the first one, so please do check that out, if indeed, of course, you have the time to do so. But coming up right here today, we are going to be talking about the latest on injuries. I'm sorry, guys, that we have to do this, but we just do. Fermin Lopez is in the spotlight, Frenkie as well discussed, and we're going to have a closer look at Hansi Flick's methods, which I think is very relevant right now. We're also going to be talking about Dani Olmo's replacement again, especially after today's event. So all of that is on the way. Come on, and let's do this. But I do want to begin right here today, guys, with an extra special super thanks donation from somebody who is going through a tough time personally right now, and Barça are helping to ease that pain just a little bit, and I am wishing you all the very, very best indeed. There's also been plenty more love coming in from Nigeria. I cannot thank you guys enough. Absolutely incredible support right now. And also to Ashok from India. Please don't worry. You can tell your wife that Hansi Flick has cured my anger. He really, really has. The guy is a miracle worker. But guys, let's move on here to talk about one of the big releases today. That came in the form of Barca's third kit. That actually dropped right here today. And I want to know what you make here of the third kit, because I feel as though of all of our kits this season, this one appears to be maybe the most controversial. You know, people don't know whether they like it or whether they don't. Of course, it is quite a vibrant one. Nike have gone there with a neon green design. They've also flipped the Nike tick to give it a bit of extra spice, I suppose. And I would say there that still the away kit for me, that is the big one. That is the incredible one. We saw it, of course, at the weekend there against Girona. Look fantastic. This one, I can understand maybe why there's a bit of a split decision on it, but this right here is our third kit. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. But if we do indeed move on to some good news, because that's what I want to do before we get into the other stuff here, let me give you some positive news from today's training, guys, because Frenkie de Jong completed another session there with the group. That is back-to-back days for Frenkie de Jong, and right now, everything is looking good. It is looking much, much more positive when it comes to him, and also in terms of that pain. He is not currently enduring any pain with that ankle, and that is why his return, it is moving closer with every session that he can complete. And what we're hearing right now in the media, if we stay on this path, if we stay on this trajectory with Frenkie de Jong, he is going to receive the medical green light next week. It could come as soon as next week, and if everything was on track there, he may even be able to return against Getafe. Now that game right there is a week on Wednesday, so we're talking here not long at all, potentially, before Frenkie de Jong could be back in this team again, and that is really good news. We can certainly celebrate that right now, and let's just hope that we don't get any setbacks. That's what we want to avoid, but right now, things are looking good. But yeah, that was the good news there. There is more good news, more positive things to come in today's video, but now we have to talk about one of the bad ones, because one of the prime candidates to actually replace Dani Olmo, it was going to be Fermin Lopez. He was the absolute perfect replacement, and he also looks set to return from the very minor injury that he was suffering with. He even returned to training this morning for the first time with the rest of the group. But then an injury struck, another one for Fermin Lopez. Upon his return to training this morning, he suffered an injury there to his right quad, and he is now ruled out, and this is confirmed by the club, for 3 weeks of action. He was just about to come back, and now he's ruled out for 3 weeks here, and that's a similar amount of time there to what Dani Olmo will miss. It means that we cannot count on him to replace Olmo. It means that he too will miss a significant amount of games. We've got so many games coming up in the next few weeks, so losing Fermin here for 3 weeks, it is a really, really big blow. But before we talk about who else then can replace Dani Olmo, we're going to talk about that in just a minute in today's video. Let me first of all just focus on some of these fears surrounding injuries at Barca right now. Because you know what? I understand the panic. You know, yesterday we had the terrible news about Dani Olmo. Today now, we've got really bad injury news on Fermin Lopez. And already, the injuries are starting to pile up. And lots of people are thinking here, what about Flick's changes? You know, I thought we were going to see less injuries at Barca. Is Flick going to be able to help the situation after all? And I just want to make sure here that we zoom out and look at the big picture, because first of all, what I would say here is that Fermin and Dani Olmo, they are actually two of the few players who weren't even involved in Hansi Flick's pre-season at the club. Now remember here that Fermin Lopez spent all of his summer at the Euros first of all, then immediately went to the Olympic Games. We don't like that double up. We don't really like players playing 2 international tournaments in a row, possibly all of those games after a long season, all the travelling. That hasn't helped with his current injury issues. Olmo, of course, signed very much later in the window, so he didn't join up with Hansi Flick's team until later on, and he also had injuries before he even joined the club. And I just want to stress here and just explain that it takes time to overhaul the training side at the club. It takes time here to completely overhaul all of the preparation at the club. And in terms of injury prevention, it doesn't happen overnight. You know, we weren't ever going to see Hansi Flick arrive and then suddenly Barca get no injuries. And I also think right now it's unrealistic to assume that any club will escape injury problems. With the amount of games that players are having to play, Rodri, by the way, Man City, so many games, of course, they're playing too. He actually said players right now, they're close to striking because of the amount of games, because the likes of UEFA, because the likes of FIFA keep piling more and more fixtures into the schedule. Every player is going to suffer and every club as a result. So it's tough right now to just change everything overnight. But I do want to highlight here one of the more positive stories about Flick's methods, about the way that Flick has changed the thinking inside of the club. And this is all going to be focused right now around Pedri and something that has come to light recently in the media. Because apparently when Hansi Flick arrived at the club this summer, along with as well Julio Tous, Barca's new physical trainer, I think everybody at the club sat down and decided here that we need to pay more attention, much more attention to the details. Because in terms of style, let me stress again that Hansi Flick, he doesn't really focus on individuals. You know, in terms of the way that we play, it's all about the team. It's all about organising the team going forward as a collective, and then defensively and pressing. Again, it's all about doing things together. Rafinha said in his own words there that Flick doesn't demand things from individuals alone. It is all about that team effort and doing things together. But I think the key here is away from the field. When it comes to training, when it comes to preparation, recovery, nutrition, long term, there has been a real change in dynamic. Players now are being seen more as individuals inside of the club. Because what I mean here is that no player's body is the same. Everybody needs and requires different things, and not every player is going to react to things in the same way there in terms of fatigue, injuries, training. And I think what we're now seeing inside of the club is more focus specifically on what individual players need. We've spoken already about Ansu Fati. That's the first example. He has a dedicated training program at the club that was actually there, all devised by Hansi Flick's staff. Ansu Fati now warms up in a completely different way to what every other player does. It's completely all changed for him because of what he needs, what he as an individual requires from training and from preparation. And Ansu, by the way, he is on track to play and return against Monaco. Now with Pedri, what I want to stress here is that the club this summer decided to do a thorough muscle analysis to understand Pedri's body better, to understand the kind of training that not everybody needed, but what he needed. And they actually sent samples there to a laboratory specialising in genetic muscle disorders, and it was in the USA, in Baltimore. They sent all of those samples away, and they got the results back from that study, and they understood at the club that Pedri would benefit from doing certain daily strength exercises. So what Barca have done now, off the back of that insight that they've gained on the research that was done on Pedri's muscle fibres, they have now been able to implement, Flick and his staff, a brand new physical plan solely for Pedri there. He actually does now 3 times a week specific training exercises at home. He's had a gym installed along with the work that he is doing with the rest of the squad at the club. So they came up specifically with a plan for him to maximise his potential and to try to prevent injury problems here. And like I say, guys, you're not going to see everything overnight, but I do believe behind the scenes we are seeing changes. We are laying foundations here that in times to come we will reap the rewards. Doing this kind of work, paying this much attention to what players need and the requirements and the training and the nutrition, it will help us in the long term. It may take a while to get there. It may take a while to completely overhaul things and see the benefits, but believe me, they will come. But guys, on the field, we still have a big question. We still now, even more so, are searching for the answer as to, okay then, who is going to replace Dani Olmo? Because now it is not going to be Fermin Lopez. So are we looking more seriously now at Pedri? Could he be the man that, like we spoke about yesterday, could shift to a more advanced role in the team? We saw him do that against Girona, and like I said, it worked very, very well. He scored a goal, he looked the part in that advanced area, and he has done plenty of times before. But I also think here, guys, what we're going to see, definitely in terms of just the squad list, Flick is going to be forced again to look from within. And it is almost exciting because we are going to see a young talent here given a real opportunity now in the first team. Maybe it could be Pablo Torre. We have not seen him hardly at all so far away from pre-season. Could he get his big break here in the first team? But don't forget Tony Fernandes. He has been tearing things up at Barça Athletic this season. He is in incredible form, and Flick is a massive fan of his. But of course, he's got a cousin as well, Guille Fernandes, who is very, very talented. There's Unai Hernandez as well. Noah Darwich is another player that Flick was very, very keen on in pre-season. So don't be surprised here if several young, talented Barça players are involved in the Champions League squad against Monaco and again at the weekend there away at Villarreal. Is this the next big moment? Is the door just opening up for another talent to come in and snatch the opportunity? That's the exciting thing about Barca. You know you're going to get injuries, and it's very, very sad when we do, and of course we get setbacks, but you just know there is talent always waiting from within. La Masia, it always delivers. And right here and now, guys, who would you like to see given that opportunity? Who do you trust in to make that step up and try to replicate what Dani Olmo is doing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And of course, on Wednesday, we are going to be building up to the big first Champions League game of the season against Monaco. I will see all of you guys for that, and thank you indeed here for tuning in to both of the uploads coming on the channel today. Your support means the world, and I will catch you all soon. But until next time, as always, Vejska, Barça.